This section is going to focus on winter communities, and given that BC has anywhere, depending on where you live, 1 to 2 months of winter, or more like 5 or 6. Anybody here have 5 months of winter? Anybody have 6? Feel like you have 6? So, focusing on these winter communities, we have 3 speakers here today from various communities in central northern BC and northeastern BC. And their job is to help us understand how we can make communities more winter-friendly and livable during the cold winter season. During their presentations, what we'll ask is if you could write your questions down, and then during the panel session later today, we will ask these questions of each of the presenters. So these presenters will go back to back. Starting with a fellow colleague and friend of ours, Ed Shearer. Ed Shearer has been with the City of Prince George for 19 years. First 15 years he worked as a project manager for the city's major capital projects. And then he moved on and spent the last 4 years as a supervisor of streets operations, and our community has what I'd say is a love-hate relationship with him based on whether or not your street gets plowed. But those of us who know Ed know he's a wonderful, wonderful person. So Ed will share with us how Prince George has taken a customer service approach to snow management. Please help me welcome Ed.
Thank you, Lori. As she said, I'm the supervisor of streets operations for the City of Prince George, which means I'm responsible for snow removal within the City of Prince George. The city has approximately 650 kilometers of roads that we keep plowed during the winter time. It's quite a large task, and we like to think we do it fine. This presentation is going to be a brief presentation on how we got to where we are and where we hope to go to in the next step. This is where we started. Back in 1976, this statement was made by the Director of Public Works because people were complaining about icy streets. We have moved along since then in the last 35 years. Today's council mission is to, as most councils probably are, to continually improve the quality of life, to offer opportunities for housing, education, recreation, and the culture life of residents, and to continue to create the climate and opportunities for employment, investment, and reward. What? Oh. You probably realize I've never done this before. Our service mission as the snow removal department is to deliver excellent and environmentally responsible snow and ice control services to the city roads and pedestrian infrastructure to ensure the winter's mobility of residents, business, and industry in Prince George. This is accomplished through a prioritized approach to road and pedestrian facility maintenance, consistent with the city's snow and ice control policy, using a mix of city and contracted services. I'll figure this out, yeah. So the principles to support this mission is snow management should provide mobility for people and goods throughout the city of Prince George, maximize vehicle and pedestrian safety, and to improve the quality of winter life in our community. The objectives which we try to obtain is to allow reasonable accessibility for pedestrians to travel throughout the city, allow a properly, and that word there really gets people, properly equipped vehicle to easily access and drive on all city roads. A lot of people do not know what winter tires are. And to meet public expectation in managing snow and ice. Back in 1991 and 92, the mayor put together a task force to look after that very first statement. If you don't like the icy roads, move somewhere else. Quite a broad range of people were asked to come and sit on this thing. I think it went for 2 or 3 months, George. Quite a long time. And from that committee, we are pretty well where we are today. Out of there came the key concepts was to rewrite our snow policy. Up until the early 90s, snow removal in the city of Prince George was budget driven. So you said, here's $2 million, you don't get any more. So you made do with what you had. After this, it became service driven. Later, as I talk about dollars, you'll see that it costs a lot to provide good quality service. We had the support and the trust of the citizens. Our snow removal crews became very conscious of what they were doing and how important their job was. We had excellent communications between the public, the politicians, and the workers. We did a bunch of innovation and we still continuously try to improve our operations and public satisfaction. Our snow remover policy, this came out of the meetings. We prioritized our streets, so on the very first day after a snow event, all the main arterial streets are plowed. And we're talking at 3 inches is the magic number we use. Second priority would be the collector streets, and then the third priority would be the local roads where the residential. In conjunction with all this going on, sidewalks are being plowed at the same time, with the downtown around the schools and the senior facilities are also being plowed at the same time. Where we run into problems is that if day 2 after snow we get another snow, we go back to number 1. So number 3 may be 5 or 6 days before they get plowed within a residential area. And if you get 3 back to back, then we're hooped. And we run into major problems. We have started within the last 3 years doing some of our more popular recreational commuter trails. We very seldom plow walkways, and it's strictly a budget item at this time. Out of the task force, one of the main components to come up, before 1992, that's what your driveway looked like after the city went by. We now clean all that snow out of there. We have loaders that follow every grader and clean the driveways as we go by. We also, in that thing, we had to get better bylaws to deal with parked vehicles on the road, which didn't allow us to plow them. We now have a very vicious bylaw department that love writing tickets. So we enforce the parking regulations, and the tow truck drivers like it, and the residents don't. But it seems to work fine. We get more complaints from people phoning in saying that their neighbor left a car parked on the road and you guys didn't plow it properly than we ever do from people phoning in and say you towed my vehicle because it was parked on a street that shouldn't have been there. We promote ourselves. We have a 24-hour-a-day hotline. If you have any requests from us, then you can. Then that number gets called quite a bit during the winter. When we started this, we were having problems. We didn't have a fleet of our own equipment. We would depend on private contractors to supply. During the 90s and early 2000s, the economy was going so well, nobody wanted to work with the city. It's not a problem today, but so we went out and leased a whole fleet of our own equipment. We have 9 sand trucks. We have 5 of our own graders. We have 5 loaders to complement them, backhoes, bobcats, sidewalk machines. We have all them. They're complemented with rental equipment from private industry.